Formula 1 arrived at Monza with finally some answers. At the very start of the season, Ferrari confirmed that they had sent an offer to Max Verstappen to drive for them for this season. Somehow they decided not to go ahead with the deal, and it was all because Max Verstappen declined their contract offer. But it turns out it wasn't Verstappen that declined the contract offer. It was actually his father. Jos Verstappen has admitted that he has declined Ferrari's contract offer for Verstappen. Jos felt that after Max's last stint at the Ferrari, which of course led to the whole contract scandal with Tom being removed from the team, with Daniel Ricciardo being forced to be in the team, and basically no one was allowed to beat Verstappen, and it all got very, very mixed up all those seasons ago. Jos felt that this was not the right move for Verstappen and that there was no trust between himself and his son joining Ferrari. So he decided to decline the offer on Max's behalf. Jos has failed to comment, however, on if Max knew whether he was going to decline the contract offer for him, and even if they actually speak to each other. This could be a potentially massive family rift between the two racing drivers, one former and obviously one present, and it's, well, cost Verstappen an opportunity in Formula 1, and would he ever be able to get an opportunity in Formula 1 ever again? Taking a look at the race news heading into this weekend, and this weekend has really flipped on its head. Porsche and McLaren were the fastest in practice, with the front of the field things are looking rather normal, but there seems to be a chink in the armour for Mercedes, Ferrari and even Red Bull. Despite the fact that Red Bull are not technically a front-running team, they have also won a race though this season, and that is those three teams are the slowest teams throughout the course of practice. It's quite clear that Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes cannot keep the downforce levels on their cars sufficient enough through the corners without taking off all of their wing levels, meaning they either have to sacrifice their top end speed just to try and match everyone else in the corners, or they take off all their top end speeds, take off all their downforce, so they've got the top end speeds but have nothing in the corners. Nobody knew which way was the right way to go with all of this. It's a real difficult time for these two teams. It seems, however, that everybody is just trying to put on a bit of the downforce to try and give them the levels through the corners and just pray that it won't hurt them too much on the straights. Mercedes was splitting the strategy throughout the course of this weekend, and of course Red Bull are in trouble as well, so hopefully things can improve for them. Otherwise, it's going to be an open opportunity for the other team. Yo, what's going on guys, it is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. As you guys have probably seen from my subscription feed, it's been a long time since we've done F1 journey. Loads of stuff have happened over that time period. We've had the festive period, I've been down and dead with COVID, and all back, yeah, everything's just been manic basically. But we are here, and we are doing another race. It is the Italian Grand Prix, so let's see what we can do at a track which surprisingly was very, very difficult. We just didn't have any good straight line speeds compared to the rest of the field here. But as you can see, my first flying lap wasn't too great. Second flying lap here was even worse, as we completely got the parabolica wrong and did multiple executed pirouettes there. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Onto our final lap though, and as you can see here, it didn't start off too great. We lost a tenth of a second through the chicane, but eventually the exit was actually not too bad, and we are gaining a bit of that time back, but we are down in 16th place. My teammate Hamilton is down in 17th place, so it just goes to show just how bad the Mercedes and the Ferraris and the Red Bulls all are here at Monza. Just way too much drag and just not enough straight line speed. So yeah, that's pretty poor. But as we go through the Ascaris now, picking up some time here, 0.2 of a second in our back pocket, and we've got a car directly in front of us, so we can nick some slipstream here down the straight, heading in towards Ascari. One of the Ferraris there giving us a lovely tow down there. We go purple to the middle sector here, absolutely smashing it through the Ascari chicane now, and onto the back straight we go here. We actually lost a lot of time there through the Ascari, so we gained a lot of time, lost it all once again though, as we make our way now down in towards the sector last, or the last corner actually, into the parabolica. Round we go now in towards there, and then fling it onto the exit, gaining those 0.2 of a second back as we make our way towards the start finish line. It's going to be a top 6 start. Okay, so here we are on the grid for the start of the Italian Grand Prix. It is a one-stop race. It's the medium to the hards, and as you can see there, I'm literally running next to no downforce whatsoever in order to compensate for the lack of straight line speed this Mercedes holds. But let's see where we can get ourselves in this Grand Prix, because we are underway, and it's not been a good start for us though. A lot of wheel spin there off the line loses us 2 places instantly, and we're getting swarmed a little bit here now, just trying to cover off the inside line. Give us a better run now. Down in towards turn 1 we go, and we're back up into P6. Originally where we started, and we're right on the back here of the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo, but it's the 2 Porsches that lead us away out front, and then we've got both McLarens sitting in behind Ricciardo, and then ourselves, then we've got the Jaguar of George Russell, and then I think it's Charles Leclerc next on the road as we go in towards the second chicane here. Unfortunately, we've outbroken ourselves, got a little bit too deep into there, and then got flustered because Daniel Ricciardo was dead in front of us, and as we make our way through in towards the first of the Ascaris there, not the Ascaris, what am I on about? It's the first of the Lesmos. Oh my god, I have lost my mind during this off-season of Formula 1, but we're back in season here in the F1 journey. But as you can see, it's not been a good start for us already. The top 5 have pulled away, and at this stage of the race, we don't want that. We have to get into DRS. If we don't, we're going to be left behind, and we don't need that at all as we make our way down the straight here now. Good run actually through Ascari on that first time around here, but as we make our way now down in towards the final corner of the Parabolica, we get a nice run through there, which is pretty decent, and now we can press onwards in this Grand Prix. First lap is going to be complete, and it is obviously going to be the Porsches out front, but there is a little bit of a duel between those 2 Porsches because Sainz leads the race, but Reese now is coming back at Sainz here, down in towards turn 1. Who's going to come out on top here between Reese and Sainz? Reese has the inside line for the second phase of the chicane. Carlos Sainz has got the outside line for the second part of the chicane. Sainz gets the drive and gets in front. Reese though challenging him now through the curve of Grande now, and Reese has just got the upper hand, got the edge here, down in towards the chicane. This is going to get really close and tight now between the pair of them. Sainz just holds on, having the outside line, but looking to the other side of the screen, we're right back in contention now. So all of a sudden, that attempt that we had, as oh, there goes Ricciardo, look, on the inside of the McLaren of O'Ward there, in towards the first of the Lesmos. Great attempt there from Ricciardo. Ricciardo and O'Ward suffer a little bit of traction problems there as they go side by side. Russell is on the back of us. We're opening up the RS. The gap's coming through in the middle. We're going to try and press this one here now as Reese is having to go, Sam's having to go at Reese, down and through the middle into Ascari. We've got ourselves up into 4th place. What a double overtake that was. Straight through the middle. The inside line on the Daniel Ricciardo. The outside line on Pato O'Ward. Lovely move there and all of that as well. Sam has actually made his way up into 2nd place now in the Italian Grand Prix. He's got past Reese in all of that. He's now going to try and press on after Carlos Sainz in this Grand Prix. But what a great lap that was for us, and we set the fastest lap of the race. But, well, eventually everyone just goes ahead and starts plummeting into that fastest lap. So, fair enough, that's gone. We've got a yellow flag, though, in all of this. Now, and it's in front of us. It's Sam, look, only 2 laps into this Grand Prix. Sam is out of the Italian Grand Prix. That is heartbreak for him, heartbreak for McLaren, and a disaster for him in terms of his championship aspirations. But for us, though, we'll take that place and inherit it, and we might just get another one here as we break nice and late down into the chicane. 2nd place is ours. We get in front of Reese here, who got compromised by Sam there, who's retiring from the Grand Prix, and now all of a sudden we find ourselves in 2nd place in this race. But for Carlos Sainz, it's dreamland because he's pulling away now in this Grand Prix, and DRS is crucial in this race, and he's not got anyone that's in range of him. We're all in range of each other, and well, speaking of DRS being enabled, it's very much enabled because Reese says, thank you very much, I'll have that place right back. And he takes it as we now go through into Ascari, getting it all completely wrong there, going into the gravel and smashing the bollard there, and we've lost 3 places in the span of a corner there, which is really not good for us. We made so much progress to get to the position that we were in, and we've basically just thrown it away there. But the back end slides there for both of Pato O'Ward and Daniel Ricciardo, the sole remaining McLaren left in this Grand Prix. But DRS will be enabled for us here. Reese is going to have some problems now because everyone behind him has got DRS. This is a big issue for him here. He's going to get swarmed in all of this. O'Ward's got him, Ricciardo's got him. We can't get him though. We tried, but we'll try around the outside though of the chicane here. Oh, and we have got him. Lovely move there from ourselves. We've got past of Reese there. Now all of a sudden we find ourselves in the back of O'Ward and Ricciardo. So Reese now dropping down the order very, very fast. But because of the action we haven't actually been able to see what happened at the start of the Grand Prix. We'll find out now. So, as obviously expected, we got a bad start. We really struggled off the line, lost a lot of time, rear grip was not there, and we had a lot of wheel spin. Breaking down into the first chicane, we just about managed to outbrake the rest of the two drivers there of Leclerc and Russell and regain our position. Reese now off the line here. You can see he had a good start to proceedings on his medium compound tyres. Tucks into the slipstream of Sainz, and that's what he wanted to do, really. He opts for the outside line. Sainz bravely defends the inside line, which he's entitled to do. Reese now has that better run through there, but Sainz, by holding it around the exit of the chicane there, is able to get the drive that he was looking for. This is on board with Sam now, who was originally out-qualified by Pato Awards. I think this is Sam anyway, that we are on board with. I'll double check on that. But initially, not a good start here as things stand. But as they go into the first chicane now, it is Sam I'm looking on board with. I just need to check Awards' helmet. Again, same thing as what Sainz gets. He just gets the run on the outside and it works for him. And that's a lovely move there. Lap 4 of this Grand Prix now, later on into lap 4, and we don't get a Sky right at all. In fact, we get it completely wrong. We were right on the back there of Ricciardo and also Pato Awards. The two of them are continuing their scrap. Reese has said, thank you very much for your mistakes. I'll have your position, but it does mean that we will get DRS down this straight to try and get him back. Russell right on the back of us here. We're really struggling in this Grand Prix. The fact of the matter is, I've had to put such little wings on. I'm running 5.5 wings that you saw at the start of the race because we found a massive weakness in this Mercedes and it's just really compromised me in the corners. We're trying to go for it now. This is DRS versus DRS. You can see Reese gets the drag race and wins it, but we win under braking, and now Reese will have to suffer with a fight with George Russell that he definitely doesn't want to be involved with, but he's got no alternatives because we've got the position. Job done. We move on in this Grand Prix. Russell now really trying to get back at Reese here in this Grand Prix as they make their way through the Curva Grande down into the second chicane here. Who's going to come out on top between Russell and Reese? Reese is going to come out on top there. Russell has to sit in behind, but I'm sure he won't be behind for too much longer. But for us though, obviously we're not clear out of the woods just yet here as we make our way now out of the parabolic and onto the start-finish straight here. You can see that Reese is under pressure from Russell behind. Both of them are going to get DRS here down onto the straight. They do have that now, and there goes Russell trying to go for a move here. Now all of a sudden the closing speed is so strong here between Russell and Reese versus ourselves into the first corner. We just about hold on to the position there, but both Russell and Reese had an opportunity there to get past us, but fortunately I was able to cover off Russell on the inside, block him off, and then make my defense against Reese on the inside then as they make their way towards the Parabolica. Pato Awards was in front of Daniel Ricciardo then, but Ricciardo managing to swoop there around the outside of Pato Awards and stay in front here. But this is actually quite promising, that the fact that these two are battling quite hard, because I need to try and close in on this gap here as they now make the drag down towards Parabolica. You can see there Awards got a little bit more straight line speed, but again Daniel Ricciardo through the corners making it count. But who was in front heading into the DRS zone here? Look at the straight line speed that Pato Awards here has got down on the straight, but then all of a sudden DRS flips in Ricciardo's favour. Daniel now has the straight line speed going down into turn 1. We've got a 3 abreast moment here. Directly behind though, we got Leclerc, who's made his way past Russell. Now he's trying to attack Reese here in the background, but now he does actually get the move done there. So Leclerc with a lovely double overtake there as we go back on board here with Award now, who's on the heading towards Ascari here with Daniel Ricciardo. That's aggressive defending there from Daniel Ricciardo, but it's not aggressive enough because Award gets his elbows out and stays in front here. This is much further back now. This is actually on board with my teammate Lewis Hamilton, and by the way guys, they're all fighting this lot here right at the back. These are the guys last. You know, Hamilton there, unfortunately, and the run down towards Ascari has just been overtaken by both Ferraris here. But yeah, it's weird. It's so strange how here at Monza, all of us top teams, apart from obviously myself, because I've literally killed my downforce, are struggling so heavily. We've got both Red Bulls here. These are all last, so the 2 Red Bulls are last. Then it's Gasly who's getting stuck in all of this. Hamilton's involved in this, and the 2 Ferraris are. As Hamilton now is going to go for a run here on Lando Norris. Now, both of them have got DRS here, as they're going to close up to Piastri. Also, the Red Bulls scrapping with each other now, so they make their way down in towards turn 1. Lewis Hamilton here trying to get the move done on Lando Norris, and he does that. He'll have the exit of the outside line section of the chicane, job done for him. Lap 8 of the Grand Prix. We've just about managed to build a small buffer behind me between myself and Reese. And ever since the battling has been going on between O'Ward and Ricciardo, it's definitely put us into play here now. As we go on to the start-finish straight here, we're going to get the DRS open for ourselves here. So let's see what we can do. And crucially, none of these two have got DRS. So they were neck and neck in towards the detection zone heading into the Parabolica. And I've just said thank you very much. I'll have both of you then, if none of you have got the DRS, because I certainly did. And that is us up into second place now in this Grand Prix. And it's about whether we can A, drop these two out of DRS, and B, can we potentially catch Sainz in this race? Well, we'll have to find out. O'Ward now is going for a run here of Daniel Ricciardo as they make their way down towards Ascari here. And here comes O'Ward, breezes past Daniel Ricciardo. Unfortunately, that's not what I wanted because, as you can see, there I am in the foreground there. The fact that the battling has been going so smoothly between the two of them just means that they're DRS training themselves towards me, which is not what I wanted in the slightest. I needed a gap to work with, but I don't have it as there goes Reese there, breezing his way past Charles Leclerc. Leclerc has no answer to that. It's further back here. We've got one of the BMWs. This looks like Nick de Vries here, trying to pressurise Russell here as they go into the chicane for the first through the turn 1 and 2. Not for the first time, but you know what I mean. Lap 10 of the Grand Prix, and just as I was stating earlier, the DRS training between O'Ward and Ricciardo has worked absolutely perfectly. They battled each other, but they were able to DRS past each other with no battling really at all. And it just meant that they caught back up to me again. But I've decided not to fight Pato O'Ward, as I feel like if they're going to DRS train and get to the back of me so easily, I'm going to DRS train with them and try and catch up to the back of Sainz. That's the plan. Also, yeah, through Ascari, I really struggled through there all weekend long, and I'm still struggling with it now. Ricciardo gets past me here. We're going to try and swoop here around the outside into the Parabolica. What a move that was from ourselves to get back past Daniel Ricciardo, but there is DRS coming our way, well, for both ways, really. But Ricciardo is also got it. We're going to defend, though, against Daniel Ricciardo. I want to keep the position versus Daniel and keep the pressure on Pato O'Ward. So as we go in towards turn 1, I go in a little bit deep, but it's all right. We can just about manage with that. Now, we need to just try and make sure we don't lose DRS to Pato in front. Worst case scenario, we'll use Ricciardo. But fortunately, as you can see by the gap between myself and Pato, we're just about in range still of him. And we can now try and use him to get closer to Carlos Sainz. But here, Ricciardo decided to dump his entire battery on me on that situation. So I've decided to be smart, let him through, because, yeah, there's no point in trying to fight that. It's just an absolute impossible battle that I will never win, and I'll just be wasting my battery. And as you can see, Ricciardo makes his way through, but crucially, he can now start to just try and build himself a little bit closer to O'Ward. And again, all this is doing is just trying to get us closer to the back of Carlos Sainz. That's the aim in all of this here. As Leclerc is once again battling with Reese here. Reese, of course, not having the luxury of what Carlos Sainz's teammate is getting out front, because unfortunately he's got himself in the middle of a fight here, and Leclerc gets around the outside into Ascari. Lovely overtake here. Now I've got one of the Aston Martins here, if I believe. This is Theo Porcher that's got himself involved in this fight as they make their way round towards the Parabolica. A little bit of contact there between the two of them, so they're getting a bit aggressive as further up front while they were fighting. We're actually coming into the pits here right behind O'Ward now for our stop here in this race. So as you can see, we're going to take the medium compound tyres off, get the hard compound tyres on, but annoyingly we've been held a little bit in the pits, so much so that they've actually just put me in the middle of an Aston Martin, and everything is absolutely okay. We'll just pretend that I wasn't morphed into an Aston Martin there, but annoyingly we were right on the back of O'Ward, and that pit stop has definitely hurt us in this Grand Prix, because O'Ward now will definitely have a 1 second gap, and also it's difficult to get the tyres up to temperature around here. Fortunately, O'Ward has come up behind one of the Red Bulls, so if I can hope that he can stay behind him for a bit longer, it would help. Annoyingly, he actually hasn't, as look at the back end sliding all over the Red Bull there as we make our way through Ascari. Now we're going to dump the battery here and get past him. I need to pass him realistically now more than anything, but make sure that I keep the DRS for the next straight here as we close in on the Red Bull there. Probably a little bit too aggressive, all things considered, but as we make our way now down onto the start-finish straight here, this is where we need that DRS to come into play. It does come into play for us. Now we're going to hope that this tries to just close us up a little bit to the back of O'Ward and just allow us to lose a little bit less time. Meanwhile then, as you can see, we're looking at, I believe this is Reese and Leclerc. It is Reese and Leclerc, and again, they're fighting towards Ascari. This time around though, it all goes Reese's way, but this is the battle that we're going to concentrate on. It's O'Ward versus Ricciardo again, but crucially, we're in a bit of a sticky situation now. Unfortunately, We're not quicker than O'Ward and Ricciardo at the moment, and the DRS battle that they're doing is just not losing them any time, to the point where you would have just seen in that clip then, I'm dropping off and I don't have DRS, and they're actually pulling away from me quite considerably now, so it's getting a little bit difficult for me to do anything about them, as Hamilton here tries to go for a move on Pierre Gasly. He gets the job done on Gasly. Sergio Perez tries to go around the outside there of Lewis Hamilton and Ascari. Initially made it work, but Hamilton came back at him then, as we can see O'Ward and Ricciardo fighting in towards Parabolica here. This is not what they want to be doing, because they were actually getting closer. There's Sainz there up front. Carlos is not that far ahead. Who's got DRS on this straight? I don't think any of them. Oh no, O'Ward does. Never mind. I thought none of them picked up DRS on that straight there, but O'Ward comfortably maintains his position in second place in this Grand Prix. But again, there is Sainz, so they might just build into a three-way fight, but we're on to lap 17 now, and unfortunately I'm having a very lonely Grand Prix. In fact, that's me just ahead there, you would have seen, as Reese now is about to get overtaken by George Russell in the Jaguar, heading in towards Ascari. Not quite though, for some reason it seems like no one's really brave enough to just send it down the inside in towards Ascari. It's put Russell on the back foot here. Now he's got Charles Leclerc that he's got to try and defend from in this Grand Prix. Leclerc goes to the outside line, the inside line for Parabolica here, and down the inside they go. Russell now desperately trying to defend the place versus Charles Leclerc, but Leclerc's got a better run through Parabolica and gets the job done. Both of them will get DRS here to try and settle matters down the straight here, but there's a drag race now going on between the BMW and the Aston Martin. There's a straight line speed attack now that Reese needs to be aware of, because Leclerc's coming at him, Russell's coming at him, Leclerc's going to have the inside line for the chicane, Reese will take the outside line for that chicane. Job done, and also the BMW there actually stays in front for the time being. Back on board now with Charles Leclerc, who's pressing on the back of Reese here, and as they blast their way towards the first corner, it is a successful overtake there for Charles Leclerc, a clean one, and an opportunity to close the gap on myself. I think also you would have seen that Russell had been involved in this battle. I can't remember if, I think Russell DNF from the Grand Prix. Well, I mean, we'll find out at the end anyway, because I'll have the classification already on the screen here. Is back at the front now. Here comes O'Ward versus Ricciardo, and it's a clean move for Pato O'Ward on Daniel Ricciardo. He gets the job done into Ascari, and now as they make their way down the straight here, they're getting ever closer to the back of Carlos Sainz, which is exactly what both these two want. They are scrapping hard with each other, but they desperately want to win in Formula 1, and that's what they're going to try and do here for themselves. Sainz has already won, of course, a Grand Prix this season. He won the season opener at the Australian Grand Prix, but O'Ward and Daniel Ricciardo are yet to win this season in Formula 1. And Daniel Ricciardo breezes past Pato O'Ward, moving up into second place now in the Italian Grand Prix, and as they venture in this Grand Prix, they're getting very close now to Carlos Sainz, moving further back down the field, right to the back of the field actually, where my teammate Hamilton is. He's having a look at Oscar Piastri in their fight, as Lando Norris is just up ahead, and you can see here, round the outside of the Parabolica for Lewis Hamilton. Doesn't quite work though on that occasion, but it's not the end of the world for him, because he pulls out of the slipstream of Oscar Piastri, opens up the DRS here, which actually Piastri's the one that's going to get it. So Hamilton was in front of Piastri there in the detection zone, and well, I would say that the Tifosi would love that, but they probably don't love the fact that they're having an absolutely horrendous Italian Grand Prix. As again, the battling between O'Ward and Ricciardo continues there. O'Ward tried to go for it down the inside into the chicane, into Ascari. It didn't work, as Leclerc here gets the DRS here on Reese as they breeze their way towards turn 1, and in fact, that's not actually very good, because you can see just in the foreground there is myself, and I'm not quite a fan of them two scrapping away like that. Meanwhile, back at the front, we have got Daniel Ricciardo with the DRS here, getting past O'Ward, as Sainz is looking very worryingly in his mirrors with just 5 laps to go now in this Grand Prix, as we go on board here with Reese, who's actually trying to be defending from Charles Leclerc. Leclerc will go to the inside line, the outside line, sorry, for Ascari, and he goes around the outside of Reese and all that lovely move there, but annoyingly, that's where my fun in this race ends, as the back end slides horribly to the exit of the first Lesmo. Second Lesmo now for us here, and this is where I've just been waiting for it to happen. It's been closing for a couple of laps now, but Leclerc and Reese have been DRSing each other, and they have managed to close the gap to myself here, and through goes Charles Leclerc into 4th place now in the Italian Grand Prix. Nothing I could do about it, and it gets even worse there as we go off the track now, as we just suffering massively now. Tyre wear is really starting to kick in. We just don't even have the downforce either. Like I said earlier in the race, we've taken it all off, literally, to try and counter the straight line speed. It gets even worse. We can't even keep it in. We can't even turn a corner now, as I've been completely flustered by the fact that both Leclerc and Reese have caught and passed me. It's really just set me off now. And onto the straight here. Here comes Reese now. Going to go for a move on Charles Leclerc into the first chicane now. They go very, very deep between each other. Passing away nice and hard now between the pair of them. And eventually Leclerc comes out on top. But Reese, though, will still keep it in there, though, as they go for the Curva Grande now. Reese is desperate to try and make this move on Charles Leclerc. Get up to 4th place in this race. Be massive for him in this Grand Prix weekend as they go down in towards the second chicane here. And it's just about successful for Reese, but that's offset Leclerc here, so much so that we're trying to get involved now, heading in towards the first Lesmos. Down the inside we go on Charles Leclerc. Job done on the Audi driver. What a move that was versus Charles Leclerc. Great overtake there from ourselves, countering the offset that Leclerc suffered via that overtake from Reese. And now we've got the DRS here on Reese, and now as we punch our way through in towards Ascari, we'll have a look at Reese. He defends the inside line, but we'll take that inside line and move up into 4th place. Reese desperately trying to come back at us there, but now as you can see here, we're onto the straight, heading towards the Parabolica. This is where it's going to get difficult for us now, because we've got one of the BMWs there. I think that's De Vries. De Vries has passed Leclerc. Now they're 3 wide going into Parabolica. That can't end well, surely. We're going to go through in one piece. The rest of them, though, probably not so much here. As you can see, De Vries is desperate to try and make an impact here for BMW. This is crucial in the battle at the bottom of the championship between BMW and Aston Martin as well, because there's an Aston Martin in the background of the screen. It's still 3 wide though. I'm going to have to do some defending surely at some point here. Into the chicane we go. Somehow no one makes contact in all of that. We're still in front though, in 4th place in this race, and we've got a tiny buffer now between ourselves and Charles Leclerc. It's not massive, but it's something, because lap 25 of the Grand Prix going for Ascari now. You can see here, this is where we lose so much time versus the AIs. And as you can see, Leclerc says, thank you very much. I'll have some of that. Get back in front of us. Up into 4th place now in the Grand Prix for Leclerc. Drops us to 5th. But now we're going to have a little look here at Charles Leclerc. Down the inside into Parabolica. A little bit of contact there between myself and Charles Leclerc. But the crucial factor in all of this is we're going to have the DRS now. So as we now enter the start-finish straight, we can afford to save the battery and use the DRS to just allow us to stay in front of Leclerc. In fact, build a tiny little buffer between myself and Charles. That's a crucial move there that we've just done in this Grand Prix to keep ourselves in check for an opportunity at 4th place. Nothing else will be better for us in this Grand Prix. This is what we're hoping for. Now, on to lap 26 of the Grand Prix, heading towards the end of the lap here. Second DRS zone now, down in towards the Parabolica. Leclerc is going to go for it, and he... Oh, that was a bit silly on my behalf, but we're going to go around the outside into the Ascari chicane there, and that's what every AI has been doing all race long, and I finally found out why. But yeah, I tried to defend the position from Leclerc there. A little bit silly from me when Leclerc got past, or just misjudged the space that I've got. But now, as you can see, heading in towards the Parabolica, you've noticed that we've just lost out to Charles Leclerc. We've nearly lost out to Reese in all this, and I'm taking a bit of a gamble. We've got 1 lap to go in this Italian Grand Prix, and what I'm doing is tactically putting myself behind Leclerc to get the DRS on the start-finish straight, stop Leclerc getting it, and breeze past Charles Leclerc to go back into 4th place now in the Italian Grand Prix. That was tactically genius from us, which nearly actually turned into a disaster move for myself, because I nearly got that wrong and let Reese back in front as well, which that would have been heartbreak because Reese would have had DRS here. But as we move our way now through the Curva Grande, down in towards the second chicane, Charles Leclerc will be disappointed that he's lost that position. He's getting closer now, gets closer, goes for a run into the chicane. Contact is made between myself and Leclerc. Damage has occurred to our front wing. We have been taking a big hit there from Charles Leclerc as we make our way through the Lesmos now. Already, the downforce that we didn't even put on the car in the first place is horrible, and now all of a sudden the car feels even worse now as contact between myself and Charles Leclerc occurs at the second chicane there. I have no idea if Charles Leclerc's got damage, but Leclerc's got DRS now, heading in towards Ascari. He gets right to the back of us, and for some reason doesn't even go for a move there, so that's a little bit fortunate for ourselves now as we make our way down onto the last stretch now on this straight here, run towards Parabolica. Leclerc's alongside us, IERS light is flashing away, we're low on that. Reese is trying to go for it down the inside, block that off. Leclerc's got the outside line, outbrake ourselves just to make the move stick. Leclerc switches back, Reese is in all of this, we've got De Vries as well, and Valtteri Bottas charging to the line. It is 4th place in the Italian Grand Prix, and by the skin of our teeth, we have managed to hold off not only Charles Leclerc, but Reese, De Vries, and also Valtteri Bottas, who snuck in there as well late at the end. What an ending to the Italian Grand Prix that was, and what a race it was for Carlos Sainz in the Porsche. I think he led every single lap, was really not that fazed by what was going on out there in the on the field, and he did exactly what he needed to in order to win the Grand Prix. But as you can see, it is Carlos Sainz that wins the Grand Prix ahead of Pato O'Ward in the McLaren. So O'Ward getting his best result of the season. Daniel Ricciardo finished the race in third for Renault. It was a good scrap between himself and Pato O'Ward, but in the end, O'Ward just had the measure on him. But Ricciardo can be so happy with himself for picking up a podium in that Renault. The Renault has always had good straight line speeds. It was always going to be a good car around this track, and Ricciardo has maximised that to its limits. We come across the line in P4, and I mean just in P4 in this Grand Prix, ahead of Charles Leclerc, who just about manages to melee himself into P5 in this Grand Prix. Rees crosses the line to finish in 6th for Porsche, with Nick de Vries getting P7, a massive result for BMW as Valtteri Bottas crosses the line in P8. It's also a big result for Aston Martin because they limit the damage of what BMW have just done by getting Colton Herta in the points. But it gets a little bit worse though for Aston Martin. It's a double bubble because Mason Wood gets himself in the points. It's a double points finish for BMW and their quest to not finish bottom of the championship. That's a fantastic result for them. Valtteri Bottas actually gets the fastest lap of the race for Audi with a 1:17.270. Taking a look at the second half of the table now, and it's unfortunate for Theo Pourchaire as he just missed out on the points, but it is P11 for Theo Pourchaire with finishing at 24 seconds off the lead. Callum Ilott finishes in P12 for Jaguar, beating the four big hitters really in Formula 1. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri only 13th and 14th for them this weekend at their home race here in Monza. The Tifosi will not like that at all, and it's just exploited a true weakness of the Ferrari, Mercedes and the Red Bull really, is that even though they are pretty much the front runners, well Ferrari and Mercedes are anyway, it just shows that when it comes to stripping all their downforce off, they're really not quite at that level of just pure top-end speed, and it's really hurt them this weekend. Obviously Hamilton finishing in 15th. That's massive for the Drivers' Championship, which we'll have a look at shortly, because of course we've managed to close that gap now by finishing in P4 and Hamilton not scoring a point. Sergio Perez finishes in P16. Pierre Gasly, an awful weekend for him compared to what Ricciardo has done, drops himself down into 17th place. Van Dorn finishes in 18th place, and as you can see, the two drivers that did not finish this weekend's Grand Prix was George Russell in the Jaguar and Sam in the McLaren, and that pretty much, it's tough to say it, but I think that's pretty much ended any opportunity that Sam had of winning the Drivers' Championship. Of course, the win last weekend for him definitely put him into a great position, and this weekend the McLaren and the Porsche was probably the two fastest cars, just wasn't able to capitalise. Taking a look at the Drivers' Championship and seeing how that's been affected, well, Lewis Hamilton remains at the top of the Drivers' Championship with 161 points to his name, but his championship advantage has now been cut by ourselves. Finishing in P4 today means that we are now just 6 points behind Lewis Hamilton, and that championship battle is well and truly back on. Rees moves to third in the championship, now ahead of Sam on 134 points, 27 points off the lead, with Sam on 130 points, 31 points off the lead. Again, a big setback for Sam here this weekend. If he just managed to finish this race, he would have been right in contention for that championship spot, but he suffers a setback. Carlos Sainz moves in front of the two Ferraris now with 95 points to his name, leaving him 66 points off the championship lead. Piastri and Norris will drop a position each in the championship, but keep the same amount of points. Daniel Ricciardo moves to 52 points after his podium finish here today. It goes in front of Van Dorn by just one singular point, and Charles Leclerc remains on, or drops to 10th in the championship actually, and he is on 37 points now, 113 points off the lead, with the next event being the F1 Journey Portuguese Grand Prix. Taking a look at the Constructors' Championship now, it's Mercedes that are top of the table with 317 points. Porsche now move clear second in the championship ahead of their rivals McLaren and Ferrari. McLaren taking a big step forwards ahead of Ferrari, who of course failed to score here today. They're on 174 points, Ferrari are on 152. Red Bull are on 93 points and stay in P5 in the championship, pretty much in their own bubble. Audi are 6th in the championship on 61 points, do actually close that gap a bit to Red Bull. So too do Renault, they're on 54 points, also very close to Audi. Jaguar remain on 26 points. BMW break into double figures with 10 points now to their name, and they pull a 6-point gap over Aston Martin, who are on 4 points. But let's go and have a look at the post-race notebook now, see how the teams and drivers react after this race. Carlos Sainz takes his second race win of the season here at Monza, and for the first time, a dominant race victory for Carlos Sainz. So that was something that he admitted. He felt it was strange dominating a race once. He got a brilliant start, broke the DRS train, and from then on in, nobody was able to catch him. Award and Ricciardo did get close. They were finishing second and third, getting their first podiums of the season each. Award in the end, besting Daniel Ricciardo in that Grand Prix. Mercedes praised Tom after a brilliant display from him to try and claw back some points for Mercedes. He ended up finishing in P4. Tom went down the route of taking off all of the downforce possible on the car and just accepting that it was going to be very, very unstable through the corners. Lots of times he actually went off track, especially on the exit of Ascari, but he still managed to hold on. And as we said in the race news earlier on in the episode, it's a wake-up call for the top teams. Their cars are clearly not bulletproof, and it's clear to see that when they take off the downforce and leave it for just top speed only, they really don't have that much to offer compared to some of the other teams like Porsche and McLaren, who seem a lot more well-rounded as they're competitive at all circuits. But that is it for the Italian Grand Prix. Thank you very much for being patient while these videos do take some time to get made and to get out. And thank you for sticking by me. So yeah, apart from that, we're going to see you guys next time for the Portuguese Grand Prix. I'm out. Peace.